This is just a little update on my Google Earth issue. I still cannot get into Google Earth. Don't know what the problem is, but I want to say thank you to Karen Harris for helping me out and talking to me about it. And she actually phoned Google Earth up, which you can see in the comments section. And they didn't know what the issue was. So, much respect to her for being concerned, because it is weird. It's very weird, and she has great content, and she doesn't beat around the bush. And she has, if you want to know about the cameras and understand how the footage works and why it is, you can be suspicious about it, and it is slightly, to me, corrupted. I go to her, and she does explain it quite well. And like I always say, I like people that are passionate about what they say. So please go and check her out, and thank you. In this video, I'm going to be talking about some pictures, some analysis, and some questions that people have asked me in my comment section, and sent some emails for me to answer these questions, in just to give my opinion on what I think. So that's what I'm going to be doing, and hopefully you have your own opinion and be able to comment. I'm just looking at what people are saying. Is this blood on the door? And I'm just going to add a little bit of contrast and brightness just to make it a bit easier to see, define the edges so that we can check this out properly. And this is similar to what they would do and what they have done in some of the images, where you see that it's enhanced. It's just slight contrast changes, brightness changes, just to define the image so it's clearer for you to see and understand. I'm going to zoom in. And no, I don't think this is blood. This is some type of sauce. You can see that it's raised. You can see the colour, and it's just not the same as what blood would look like on this surface. You can see that it's been there for a while, and it's the main thing to look at is the fact that it's raised quite a bit. It's raised quite a bit in consideration to what blood would look like. But it's not blood, it's sauce. And you've got to remember, this is a freezer where there was food and things like that, things of that kind in there. So you have to have a little bit of consideration for that. And I'm not saying there isn't blood in the freezer. There is blood in the freezer, but this isn't blood. This is some kind of sauce or food of some kind that's been left on the door by accident. Something could have been spilled. Someone could have touched the door and had this food on their hands. So yeah, it's nothing to be concerned about in regards to it being blood. As you can see that it's raised. So no, in my opinion, it's not blood. So here I just wanted to talk about the fact that I don't see any white shoes in Manifa's hand. And I believe that these shoes are her own shoes. We see her on the lower level elevators with these shoes in her hand, which is what that picture was from, screenshot was from. And I don't see white or grey shoes, and I don't know why people are saying that these shoes are white or grey. I think it's just a slight manipulation of the fact that Kenneka has these, white shoes on, and one of them's off, and people are just making assumptions. You can see here she's got the shoes in her hand, the same shoes. And remember the timing, look at the timing. Remember, you've got to add an hour onto this one. But you can see that they're not white or they're not grey, they're not light coloured. And there's on many occasions you have seen Manifa being irritated by her shoes. So it makes sense that she took her shoes off. Just takes a little bit of investigating, but that's my opinion, that they're her own shoes. It doesn't mean, if you want to believe she's a murderer, it doesn't mean she's not. I'm just saying that I don't believe they're her shoes, Kenneka's shoes. And these are the black socks that I noticed in this footage that was um, that was sent, and it's quick. So this is a replay because of how quick it is. But I slowed it down, and I always slow them down to have a look and see what I can see. But you have to remember, when you slow things down, pay attention to motion blur. Don't let that obscure your vision of what you're seeing. But I'm saying, does she have black socks on? And where did they go in the freezer? I don't understand. To me, it looks like she has black socks on. I'm going to do a multiple replay to see what you think. And I'm not saying she has black socks on, but it does look like it. And I would like to know what you guys think. If you guys think she does or she doesn't. It's not about being angry with people because they have different opinions. Okay? So just be real and clear and tell me, do you think she has black socks on? Because to me, it does kind of look like it. And I've zoomed in, I've done everything. And it's hard because it's not the best quality. But to me, it does. To me, it really does. And someone told me about the reflection in the mirror, that it was the wrong way around, and I don't think it is. You can see Kenneka's hair in the reflection, and you can see her arm, and it's going in the correct direction for the position that she's standing in. You can also see her hair going down her back in the correct place, and you can see where her bum and her legs are, which they're in the right place, and she's turned away, so all you can see is her hair, which makes sense. I personally don't understand why you would think that she was in reverse. Okay, so this is basically some images that I found interesting that I had a look at and tried to analyze a little bit. And what I noticed about this image was the difference in the type of cuts that she has on her foot. I mean, here you've got a scrape. Here's like a dig, another scrape, and then a slight scrape on the back where probably comes from this scrape. It's the same motion. But it's interesting that they're different. I mean, there's another injury that she has on her leg somewhere, and I think it goes along the lines of these cuts. Be interesting to see what that one looks like, just to make sense of it, because this happened in the freezer. We see her walk in to the freezer with her shoes on, and she got up those stairs quite quickly. From that point where we last saw her to the kitchen, it was quite quick. So she didn't have any issues going up the stairs, which I thought, another thing I thought was interesting. That's why I believe she had help going up those stairs. So I believe this happened in the freezer. But if this happened in the freezer, what did that? That's what's interesting to me. What could she have done in this freezer with nothing in it for that to have been caused? Something else is this print here. And to me, it looks like it comes from her trouser, the bottom of her trouser. This pattern you see, it goes with this pattern here. Let me get close up here. You can see this pattern, this repeated pattern, and then the lines. That's like her trousers slightly bellowed, or the motion of her moving, but it goes with this pattern here. So it could show her movements in the freezer, or if she was moved in this freezer. It shows evidence that she was moved, or this is her movements. And here obviously you can see this line here. That's obviously the motions of her foot moving, but it's just interesting when you look properly, because some people are finding things that I can't see, don't understand, or it's blurry, but there's so much in here still that's clear. So I was just going through and seeing what I thought. These obviously, these orange bits are from the tiles that have broken off of the floor of the corners, probably the weakest part. So that's what the dirt, it probably is from the. I mean, when you look at this freezer, it's extremely dirty. So it makes sense why she's dirty from being in the freezer. And another thing about this image was these lines, which I'm gonna go right in and zoom in. You can see this. It's like like her clothes at one point have been raveled up. You can see the clean bits in between these dirt marks, and then you know how it goes. The dirt will hit the bits that are raveled up, and then the dirt will be rubbed onto the clothing, and these are the lines. And in between, you have the light patches where it wasn't exposed to the dirt. So that's interesting also. It does look like the dirt on her shoe does come from the freezer. I don't think I don't think sorry, I do think that she did walk in the freezer and walk around. I don't think she walked in there for her own choice. I definitely feel that something did happen in this freezer. When you look at the other images, you can see, from what I can see, a swelling that someone mentioned before on the side of her here, which I've got another image if I find it. These are just the images I'm gonna have a talk about, but here, this image here, you can see. Now my explanation for this is, you can see there's a bit of dirt here. Okay, you can see the swelling, and it's like a red swelling, and I feel like she was on this side at one point for a while, and I think she was dead when she was on this side. So I do believe she was moved. Also, look at her clothing. Her jacket is over the top of her arm, and then this one's raveled up like it's been pushed in. And to me, when I first looked at this is months ago, it looked to me like it's someone's arms under her, and this is how, because it's over the top of her. It's not underneath her. It's not underneath her arm. It's over the top of this arm. So it's like, as they've pulled their hands out, it's fallen on top of her arm. And then you obviously have this where it shows where they possibly could have put their hands. I'm not saying that's exactly what was happening, but I just thought that was interesting that both sides as well have something that could mean that possibly happened. Also, notice the back of her coat isn't really that dirty. And when you look at the state of this kitchen, it should be dirty. If she was on her back, this would be dirty. I don't believe there was any point she was on her back. I think she was on her side, and I think she was moved. I think she was moved. Let's look at another one. This area here that's clean. Could she have possibly moved herself in this area? Or someone's moved her. Someone could have come in, seen that she's dead, moved her to see if she was alive, and this is where she's ended up. There's so many possibilities. They could have been scared. We don't know who I don't believe we know who actually did find her. So that's just my opinion, but I think she was found before that manager found her. And we see the other guy that comes in, the maintenance guy, looks like he's seen something, walks out. I believe that she was known to have been in that freezer before even he knew, and that's why he went there. I don't. It's just, there's so much confusion. But another thing is these patches on her leg. You can see it's like the water's been soaked up into her trousers, and then you have the dirt on this part of her body of her trousers here also, which goes in line with it. And then that swelling with the dirt here. Okay, this is dirt. Okay, so I do believe she was on that side at one point. The reason for her being moved, I don't know. I'm not going to speculate. But I do feel that she was on this side and she was moved. And I don't know why I've got the feeling that somebody found her and, was scared, turned her over to see she was alive. And, I believe that also happened before the 6 hour period of rigor mortis. That's what I believe. And that's why her body was able to move so well and they could put her into this position in the corner. But that's just my opinion. That is just my opinion. I don't want to think I'm trying to convince anyone. But that's just my opinion and everyone's got their own. There's not that much blood in here. There's a little spots of blood, which I believe come from her foot. Like here, and there's other places in other images that you can see. But I don't believe that there's a lot of blood in here. But there is some, definitely. But it's just not to the extent that people have said. When we look at a shoe, you can see there's dirt, obviously dirt on her shoe. You can see, but when you go close up, you can kind of see the motion of how she moved her foot. You can see a slight drag here. This could just be her moving on the floor, trying to get up. I don't know, but you can see the drag of her foot on her trainer. Also, when you look inside her shoe, as people already know, which I'm going to point out even further, you can see there's no blood. So I do believe, and this would be the side that her foot was cut on. So I do believe that she cut herself in this freezer, but on what? That's what I'm trying to say. What happened in this freezer? It's so crazy when you look at everything and you put it together. The next one, let me see. What was I gonna do next? You can also see something else is the position of her arm. You can see the position of her arm. You can see what I was saying about the coat being on top of her arm and then this indentation in this side. It looks like someone lifted her and put her there. In my opinion, I'm not trying to convince no one, but this is like my opinion. Please have your own. If you've got anything to add, please add it and please, enlighten me. You can see here as well. There's another image where I can show you a bit clearer what I mean. Here. You can see her arm goes across here. But in the images that we see, where she's upright, that's not the position of her arm. It's just very interesting.